everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am starting a small series of videos about making the McCalls 7842, and I'm starting today with the basic start of this of making the pattern. So with choosing my size, tracing the paper. It's already traced. I'm just going to share a few tips with you. The first adjustments I made to the pattern, you know, like stuff that I know that I'm going to change before I'm getting to the fabric. I'm going to show you how I changed the bottom placket, because in this pattern it's just a little bit, there are a lot of seams there at the center front. Also I'm going to show you how I'm fitting the paper in a minute, like the tissue fitting like they have in the pattern. And also in the end I am going to show you my fabric options for this shirt. So let's see. So this is the pattern. It's a, I don't know, I did not see a lot of versions of it on the internet. Even on Sewing Pattern Review there are only 2, I think. But I think it's a really nice pattern. And it has some really nice details. I like the color, I like the hidden bottom placket, and that back that is folding to the front. The lower back is a separate piece that is folding all the way to the front, and it's getting top stitched onto the front panels. So choosing the size. This is a Palmer Pledge pattern. So they have the tissue fitting method, and in the instructions they do show how to do that. There and also the adjustments that you should make, or that you could make, depending on the problems that you see in your paper. My only problem is that I'm not using the tissue from the original pattern. I like to keep those intact, you know, in the case that I'm making for somebody else or that I'm changing sizes. So I'm just tracing the pattern in the size I need, and even then I'm making kind of paper fitting stage, because there are some things that you can really see at that stage. Size wise, I wanted to try their method to choose the size based on your upper bust, and I did measure my upper bust. Of course, I need to stand and not to wear so many clothes, but I did measure it, and it was like I don't know, 89 or something. So I went with size 12. So the what I measured here, I just looked in the size here and used my upper bust and read it in the bust measurements on the envelope. And so I used the size 12. They say if you are between sizes, go with the lower size. So I went with size 12. I must say that the fit is not horrible, we are going to see. A few things what I read in those 2, I think there were 2 reviews on Sewing Pattern Review. One of both of the reviewers, they were complaining about having a lot of seams here at the hidden bottom placket. So I did take a look at the pattern, and indeed there are 2 bands that they are forming that hidden bottom placket. I cannot say that anymore. So I was thinking, why not making just in one piece like you have in a normal shirt. So I'm going to show you how I changed that. One little tip about tracing the pattern. I kind of like tracing this kind of patterns, because if I was to compare with a pattern that is from a magazine, let's say this is a Patrones, I mean, look what I have here, and comparing with that, this is really easy to trace. I mean, they are not overlapped or stuff like that. But my problem is that I'm doing mostly my tracing work in the night, mostly in my dining room, and my table there is from wood, so it's pretty dark, and if I put this I really cannot see anything. But to see it much better, I'm using a piece of white paper on the table, and then I am putting the pattern on it, and as you can see, is immediately very, very clear to see. I don't know if you can see this. Look how visible is this if it's against the white paper. So I'm always putting a sheet of white paper on my dining table, and then it's really easy for me to see through. Much easier than if I was to have the tissue only on the table. That was my child that is outside. So this is something I'm always doing, putting a sheet of paper on the table, and then I'm putting the paper, and then I'm tracing really, really easy. Because I knew that I'm going to skip all those bends here in the front, I did not even bother to trace them. But Patty Palmer, she did make this shirt also, and she wrote a blog post about it. And I think she did also change that placket in the front, but she's also referring to Palmer Pledge's book, an old one, where and there is a page there where you can see how to make that. And while I was trying that method, where it's saying that you can add from your center front 3.5 inches of extension, and that will be 3 parts of 1 inch, and then a ½ inch seam allowance that it will get turned, and then you have that hidden bottom placket. But I was thinking that that cannot be right, and I'm going to change the cam in a minute, and I'm going to show you what I meant by that. But actually adding a hidden bottom placket on a shirt is actually really, really easy. So I'm going to move the cam, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay, so for the hidden bottom placket, as I said, in the pattern there are different pattern pieces that they are forming that hidden bottom placket, and to avoid all those seams here at the neck, which is going to give, of course, a lot of bulk, depending also on your fabric, I just added onto the pattern. And on Patty's blog, Patty Palmer's blog, she is sharing their page of one of their books, where they say just add 3.5 inches from your center front, and then there are the instructions there how to fold to get this. But I think what is missing there is the fact that you need to have an extension here from the center front to be sure that your button in the end, although it's hidden, is going to come, so your blouse is going to be buttoned exactly, or closed at the center front. Otherwise, if you are starting everything from the center front, then your center fronts are meeting, and you cannot, you need the extension. So I turned to a very good craftsy video from Susie Furrer, and there she's explaining very well in her colors and closures lesson or class on the pattern drafting classes from Craftsy. Colors and closures. She's explaining very well how to make this kind of button placket. She's explaining also other styles, but this one is really, really easy. So I did check what kind of buttons my pattern was asking for, to be sure that in the end, when everything is done, that I'm still going to fit my color here. So the pattern is asking for ½ inch buttons. And how this is working, so this is how it's going to look in the end. My buttonholes are coming here, this is going to be closed. So this treatment must be done only on the right side of the pattern, because it's a woman's shirt. In a man's shirt would be this, the left bodice, but this is on the right. So on the right side, if you know the button size, what you need to do, my pattern from the McCalls pattern is, this is the center front, this is everything you need to trace. The pattern piece is only to the center front. I did let a little bit bigger piece of paper here, and then you start drafting your placket from the center front, from the original pattern. So the edge of the pattern that you find on your sheet is going to be also the center front. That is also stated in the instructions. So from there, what you need to do, you only need to have some lines, and the measurements, they are really easy. The first line from the center front is going to be an extension, and that is going to be the size of your button. So depending what kind of button you are using, you are going to use that measurement. But again, it's better to stick to the pattern information for the button, because otherwise you get here extra. If you use a bigger or a smaller, your collar is not going to fit, so you are going to have to adjust that also. So the easiest way, just use the size that the pattern is calling for. So my pattern is calling for a 1/2 inch button. So my extension, the first line from the center front here, is going to be a 1/2 inch distance. So from here to here, I just draw a line 1/2 inch away from the center front. The next line, the facing of this piece here, is going to be 2 times the extension. So that is making a 1 inch facing. Again, measuring again from the last line I draw, from the extension line, 1 inch away, again, draw a line from here to here. The next line, and this is going to make actually the hidden buttonhole placket. The next line is going to be the size of your facing minus an eighth of an inch. So just to have that a little bit, that is going to keep this thing hidden from the outside. As you can see, it's only a 3 millimeters, an eighth of an inch. It's really small, but it's really making a big difference. So from the facing line, draw a line, the facing minus an eighth of an inch. So I think that is 7/8 of an inch. I draw a line here, and of course this one also needs to be faced, and again a second line 7/8 of an inch away from this one. And to have it a little bit, of course this needs to be a little bit finished, so I just added a little bit of seam allowance, in my case 1/4 of an inch, but you can add whatever you want. After you add this, everything, you are just going to fold. I'm going to fold the first here on my extension. I added here some notches to know everything, where are the folds. I know that this is my center front. This is my first fold. This is the second one, the third and the fourth. This is the edge. It's not really so important, but I'm folding first on the extension line. And then it's really easy, you just need to try it. And then I know that the facing needs to be here inside. It is the wrong side of my pattern. I have here this fold between the buttonhole placket and the facing of the buttonhole placket that I'm going to fold. And this is a little bit tricky because this line is inside, but you can totally put it on the wrong side, and then it's even easier to fold. Then you put the seam allowance out, and then you see that everything needs to be just inside of this line. I think you can see it. And then in the end, from the right side, you have this beautiful hidden placket with almost no bulk, no unnecessary bulk from adding everything with seam allowances and stuff, you know, with seaming everything. And of course the seam allowance, the seam allowance that I added here, I like to just fold it in. You can also just fold it like this, but I like mostly, I don't know if that's a really good idea because then you can see it from the outside, but I'm wrapping everything and just turn it. And from the outside, you just need to top stitch just inside this fold. You'll feel it when you are sewing, just inside the fold, like maybe an eighth of an inch, and that is going to catch all these folds. Of course, let's pretend that this is my top stitching line, that is an eighth of an inch inside. like so, and as you can see, everything is nice and hidden inside. One important thing is that after you fold this everything, it's important after you draw all your lines to fold it in the correct position, like you are going to sew it, and then just come with your scissor and cut the excess paper here and here at the end, because that is going to give you the correct shape of your neckline. So when you are going to open this, it's going to be a little bit, you know, not straight, but that's okay, because when everything is folded, it's going to be correct. Of course, I'm going to interface everything from the facing to the edge. So the facing and the two other parts here, everything is going to be interfaced. For the left side of your bodice, of course, you don't need all this because they are going to come only the button sewn. You can make another piece of the left part of your bodice, or you can use the same. I'm going to use the same. And what I need on the left side, I need of course the extension, and I need the facing of the extension, so that everything is going to turn, and then I can put my buttons here. But so I have the facing, and I also need to add a little bit of a seam allowance to finish the facing when it's turned. So I just added here, I made a line 1/2 inch away from the facing, and I also wrote cutting line for the left bodice. And after I'm going to cut the fabric, I'm just going to fold the paper, and I'm going to cut the left bodice. I'm going to cut away, and I'm saying left as one, of course. So that is going to, and also that is going to be interfaced from the facing. So that is going to be that's it. It's really easy, and it's, I think it's much easier than, I find it so complicated in the instructions, all the information about sewing the plackets, that I did not even look at them. Something else what I also did in advance, because my last experience with pattern with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance was terrible, so I decided to adjust the neckline. Let me see, is it this one? I think it's this one. Yes, I measured and I adjusted my seam allowance to 6mm seam allowance for the neckline. I did the same for the back, and also for the armholes and the sleeve. I just trimmed away a little bit of the seam allowance, and I kept for the armholes 1 centimeter seam allowance, and the same, of course, I adjusted the seam allowance for the sleeve, leaving only 1 centimeter seam allowance, so 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, because I think it's much easier to put the sleeve in with a smaller seam allowance. So this is everything, and also of course, because I changed the neck seam allowance, I also adjusted the seam allowance of the collar, and to be sure that everything is going to fit, I even did a little bit of walking my pattern kind of thing. And this is my seam shoulder seam notch on the pattern, and then I just walk it a little bit like this, and walk it and walk, whoops, walk, and then I have the notch here for the center front, and then I have here this circle that is giving the seam allowance of the collar. I did let it as it was. It's a really big seam allowance. I don't see why I should use that, but I'm not going to change that. But so everything is fitting. It's always good when you change stuff to check if the pattern, if the seams are still fitting, or, you know, marrying each other. Now I'm going to show you how the pattern is fitting me. I know it's really hard to see, but you get an idea how I'm working with this. I'm apologizing because I know that the paper is going to make a lot of noise in the microphone. I did put it to the side, but you get a little bit idea, and I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing in this pattern, how it's fitting me now. The next video I'm going to make a muslin out of it, of a toile, a fitting garment, and I'm going to show you there. You see there if my work from now is really good or not. and from that I'm going to make the final adjustments, of course, for the final garment. But now I'm going to show you how this is fitting a little bit, or how you can get an idea if, you know, if you are on the right path, let's say. So this is pinned. I pinned the shoulder seams. I pinned my hidden bottom placket as it will be sewn, let's say. The side seams, everything is pinned like it will be sewn. I also clipped, you know, like they really do in the Palmer Pledge method. I did add some tape, this kind of tape, this white tape. I did add small pieces along the stitching line, and then I made some cuts to be sure that everything is going to get, you know, open, like it will be, that I can see where the stitching line is sitting on my body. I should have done also here the neckline, but I have only a 6mm seam allowance, so I think it's going to be okay. And the nice thing about the Palmer Pledge patterns is that they have all those lines, so you can really see where everything is sitting. Let's see. So this is how it's looking now. I'm trying to get the center front to my center front, and I'm trying not to touch the microphone a lot because I know the noise is really bad. And I think it's almost, let me see, this is my center front. It sits well on my shoulder, but the problem is, if I'm turning with the back, I do feel that this is a center back, but from previous, I think I did lose a needle. Ow! I know that I'm going to make a really small swayback adjustment here. The lines are already on the pattern, and I did try this before, and I know that I need here maybe like 1 centimeter to touch my center back, and I do know that I need at least, because this is the center back here where the paper is, but my center back is somewhere here, so I need a 1/2 inch full bust adjustment. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm not going to add a bust dart, but I'm just going to add some extra width also here, because that is so I'm going only to cut on the 2 lines to make like an Y adjustment, because that is going to give me more room here, and also a little bit room to the bust. And it's also going to help my too tight in the hips problem. The problem is that this pattern has no side seam, so otherwise I need to get worked it here in this lower piece that is coming to the front. But I want to do that in the fabric later if it's necessary, to maybe to slash the fabric, but we'll see at that stage. So for the bust and a little bit tightness in the back, I'm going to make that Y adjustment and let here the fabric that I'm getting. I'll show you in a moment. That's also something that I saw in Patty's blog post. And I also, I noticed, I don't know if you can see, if I'm pulling this to the back, I do see that I have a fabric here. So I'm going to put the shoulder point like 1 centimeter lower to get a little bit rid of this extra fabric here at the back. I think that is going to help. So these are the changes that I'm going to make. And I'm going to move the cam and show them to you in the moment. Of course, with the paper, although they say that is no guessing, but it is a little bit of guessing. I mean, if you have the tissue, maybe the tissue is a bit more flexible, but this fabric is not, this paper is not. But I do get an idea that at the front is going to be a little bit too tight, and in the hips also. And now I know that if I change this and I'm making my toile, I have a big chance of getting that very easy to fit. Okay, so let's see how I'm going to make these changes. This is something really new for me, so I need to think a little bit about it. I'm going to make first that bust adjustment, and then I'm just going to lower the seam allowance on the seam on the shoulder point. I'm going to tape this a little bit to be sure that it's not going to move everywhere, but let me see, I'm going to tape it only on these edges because, oh, let's see, like so and like so, because this other one needs to go away a little bit. Okay, so what I want to do is to cut on this line, on line A1. It's a really big cut. Okay, now I'm here at the apex, and what I want to do here is to cut on this line, on line 1 and A1, and I'm not going to cut on line 2 because that's the line that can give me the to make that bust dart. But I'm going to try to not to make that. I'll see if it's working, I don't know. You see here I have a really big seam allowance. I was thinking add some extra in case of necessity. Okay, let's see. I'm going to cut this all the way to the shoulder. To the shoulder stitch line, but not through. And from the inside I'm going to cut on line 1 to the armhole stitching line also, but not through. And I'm going to make here a really small hinge that my paper can open. And let's see, and here another one. Oops. Please don't break. Okay, let's see what I can get here now. So Patty opened this. Let's see. There's my bust there. I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to put some paper. And I'm always using this kind of A4 colored printer paper because it's really easy to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put one here first. Okay. And I'm also going to, I cannot stick pins in my cutting mat. Let's see, because this one is just, this needs to be flat. Only this part needs to move. Let's see. Okay, so from here I want to measure. I need 1 inch because I need a ½ inch. So I need a ½ inch. That's going to make for a 2 inches bust adjustment. Let's see. So the other paper needs to be somewhere here. And I'm going to meet this to have my apex point, this one here, to have it at my ½ inch you know, mark, let's say. Okay, and I'm going to tape this. I'm going to put one more here, like so. I like this. So you see, this one is, this change is giving me here, is giving me a little bit of space. It's giving me here a lot of space, and I'm going to keep this because I know that I need that because of the, you know, that I said that in the hips I need a little bit more space in this sides. So I'm just going to put some paper here, and just keep everything flat, because it's flat pattern making adjustments. Let's see. Okay, so this is how my adjustment for the bust is looking. I added here 1 inch, half inch, that is going to make a total of 1 inch. So I added here half inch distance for my bust. This is what I wanted, and here I have the rest. Of course, that if I did not want this, of course, to get rid of it, I would have to make here a dart to cut on this line, on line 2, and then to bring everything straight down to get rid of most of this width here, and that would give me, of course, a dart. Everything is really well explained in the instructions. But because, as I said, I want to have a little more at the hips, I'm just going to keep this and see how everything is going to work in my toile. For the shoulder seam, it's actually really easy. I know that I want to have it, how much is this? 2, I'm going to make it somewhere like this. I have a sign there, but I think I just guess it. And I'm going to start from the point here, from my neck, all the way here. And then I'm going to measure my seam allowance, that is 5/8 of an inch. And that's my cat. And I'm just going to do this too. Usually I have a rotary cutter here, but I don't have it. So I'm just going to cut this away. The swayback adjustment, before I forget, and I have here the lines. You can see the lines for the swayback adjustment. How I'm going to do that, I'm just going to cut. Let's see, first of all I need to mark here my seam allowance, because I need to know where I need to stop with my cutting, and that is 5/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to cut one of these lines. I don't think it doesn't matter on which line. I'm going to cut the lower one, like so, and here to the stitching line, and here I'm going to cut a bit to the stitching line, and I'm going to tape it. You see, I'm coming to the upper line here. There are 3 lines here. I'm going to use I know that I'm always like a half inch, sometimes even more in some patterns. Oh, that's my cat. She wants to go outside. Yes. Wait a second. And like so. And if you are wondering, yes, that you cannot cut this on the fold anymore. Yes, I can. Because, you know, the paper, that's the thing with making the paper adjustments or fitting. Everything is getting really, how should I say, wrinkled. So I have this now, but this piece is cut on the fold, and if I was to put it on this line, this is a straight line, you can see that my piece is not really straight here anymore. But to do that, I'm just going to add some paper. This is a really minor difference, but imagine if it was bigger. You just add some paper here and some paper here. This is something that you can do with any pattern that is on the fold, and you make a swayback adjustment. You know, swayback adjustments you can make in many ways, also without distorting the fold. But if you make this like this, put some paper and then come with a ruler, and you just need to start at the point here, at the lower point, and at this point put everything that is nice and straight, like so, and you just start from nothing and go to nothing, like so. And you see, it's just a little bit of fabric that is going to be added. It's really not a big deal. But if you had, let's say, like swayback in a bodice, you can always measure what you changed here and take off from the side seam. If it was a bodice, let's say, I find a really strange place to make a swayback adjustment here, but what do I know? We will see it. So I'm cutting now on that line, and now my piece is back straight, and I can cut it on the fold. You see? Now it's nice and straight. So that is also very easy. So this is it. Now I'm going to show you my fabrics. So if you are still here after the adjustments I just made, I mean, they do take just a little bit of time. I just want to show you the options that I have for making this this shirt. So I think maybe one of them is only fitting in the pattern fabric recommendations, but I am contemplating to use this. This is a double gauze, I think it's called in English. In Dutch is hydrofiel, but it's double gauze. As you can see, it is a flat one, because I have also the one that is really crinkly. Let me take one from here. This one is a really pretty one, but as you can see, this one has a lot of crinkles. Here on the back is better to see. But this style, this is washed, so I just need to have it ironed, and it's going to be really flat. But I like it because it's really soft, and I think it will make a really great, very comfortable shirt. Another one that is also as soft, I don't really know, it's a kind of linen, cotton linen blend, is this one. I think this one could be also nice. It's also very soft, and I think it has the drape that it has is really enough for this shirt. One change, what I'm also going to make, this lower piece of the pattern is is doubled, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to turn the edges, and I'm going to, because if I have 2 layers of this thing hanging on my back, I think it's going to be too heavy. So this is another option. This is black and white. Oops, sorry. And then I have this is a cotton. This is also very pretty, and this is sitting since forever in my stash, but it's soft, and I think but it's more stiffer than the other two, but I think can make a really nice shirt. And then I have 2 very different fabrics from the requirements. This is a rayon, a woven rayon, which is very pretty. And I have one more, and this is a crepe, but this one has also some stretch in it, I think, just a bit. This one is I bought it from one of my holidays in Spain. It's really nice, and I think I'm drawn to this because I have a jeans that I made in this color. It's really nice. So, but I'm wondering how it will look with those flaps, you know, like maybe it could get really crazy. I need to think about it. But a very big candidate is this one, because I think it's going to make the most comfortable and soft and nice shirt. So with this being said, this was my first video in making the McCalls 7842, and I hope my adjustments are going to help you if you want to make this one. But for me, those are the changes. So a little bit to the bust, keeping that extra width at the hips, and a little bit shoulder adjustment and the swayback adjustment. I'm going to make a toile from the paper paper pattern that I have now, and I'm going to make a video on that because I think there you can see the best, and I can see the best how the thing is going to fit. And for sewing, I don't expect any difficulties, because now with that hidden button placket so easily made, I think it's going to go really, really easy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you have some help with these tutorials, with the explanations I gave. Don't forget to give me thumbs up if you like it, and put your notifications on if you subscribe. If you are not a subscriber, do subscribe please, put notifications on, and you'll get a message when the new video is coming on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!